Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, especially on the burning bridges front. Like, that's not really going to attract players there if, like, once a player leaves, if you're going to be snide towards him, like, I don't know when it ever pays to burn a bridge. So, I don't know. That's just a hot tip for folks. Don't burn bridges. Welcome to episode 140 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast, a podcast where three brothers talk about what's happening in American and English soccer. My name is Dave Knittel, the eldest Knittel brother. I'm here with Christian, live in person. Hello. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. I'd be better if I don't think you were cheating and looking at my phone when the trivia question was just up there.
I was not.
But, you know, you're home, so we're getting ready to go to Europe. And we're getting to be really pumped.
Bros.
We also did a celebration birthday dinner, which we just happened, where for some reason Dave got credit for my birthday.
I don't know
and
where
we celebrated Dave's birthday.
I don't know why Mom did that. But I will say I'm feeling
fucked up.
I am feeling amazing because Ma said I looked glowing.
She did.
That's pretty nice.
Dave had the meat sweats earlier, so that's what happened when we were eating ribs.
No, I only had like 3 or 4 ribs, actually. I was saving room for the cake. I've had 2 pieces of cake.
The cake was pretty good.
Yeah, cake was
good.
average.
It's a little above that.
Yeah, Matt's not here. We haven't touched on that. Our other brother, Matthew, is not here. He is suffering from a migraine, and so we hope he feels better. So, Matt, you are missed because I'm sure you're going to be listening to this, and it's going to be...
Yeah, it'll make it feel better.
It'll make it feel so much better.
He's probably tuning in right now.
That. Yes, absolutely. We're part of the Big Heads Media Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for tons of podcasting content. Christian, do you have our trivia question?
I do, Dave, but now I feel like I should change it because I don't know if you're looking. All right, so I'll go with this one. Since it's just us Liverpool people today, I might as well ask a Liverpool one because I never do that, right?
Yeah,
never, ever.
Yeah.
So Fabinho has now started 29 games for Liverpool in the Premier League. Can you name what his record is?
Okay.
As a player in his 29 games.
All right. Well, I know that they've won 17 straight now, so there's at least that. But I don't know if he's played in all of them. All right. Oh, all right. Mind games. Hello. All right. Since Matt's not here, I'm trying to think of the right way to structure this. So probably what's going to happen, podcast listeners, you're going to hear an interview right now with Drew Pels, our September. That's what, because right now it's October. Our September Premier League Quick Kick Picks champion. And so hope you enjoy that interview. You're going to hear a little bit of music, then we'll go to that interview, and then we'll be right back after that with Christian's Corner. I'd like to welcome on Drew Pels, our September Quick Kick Picks Premier League champion. Drew, welcome back to Bros Talking Soccer. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dave. I would like to make a correction to your intro right away. I was not the winner. I came in second place to Christian. This is a participation trophy, but I will never turn down an opportunity to promote myself, which is why I accepted the invite. But if I was a parent and my child was getting this, I would slap them across the face and say, how dare you go on that show? You didn't win it. You don't deserve to be on there. But I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we're happy you accepted the participation trophy. For the record, Christian did come in first with 47 points. Drew tied for second with 40 points with my brother, Matt. Then we had a couple other people down lower. I finished dead last with 17 points. And it was a short...
In the picture that you shared, I spotted some nepotism. You put Matt above me. Even though we were tied, we should have been on the same level. I don't appreciate this. If you were casting a movie to play like a movie about you and your family, you would cast the 3 of you. You wouldn't find actors. I sense the nepotism and I don't appreciate it, Dave.
All right. That is noted. I'll try to keep that in mind moving forward. For just the record, I just have the way I have it sorted is I have Christian, Matt, and I on top. So when I do the automatic sort feature, we're already listed at the top. And then I guess I would have thought that it would have gone alphabetical. So I would have thought that your name would have been first, but I guess it just leaves where they were starting position.
You've obviously rigged your computer and Excel to favor you and your family as well.
I have. That is 100% true. So with our quick kick picks, I want to get into your strategy. You've been, one of the people that every week are sending in your quick kick picks. So what's your strategy? What's the method behind your madness?
They're really all just random guesses. I have no idea. I mean, really, I don't do any research. I generally go with my gut. Like, I don't have it. Like, when you take the SAT or something in school, they always say, whatever your first instinct is, go with that. That's exactly what I do. And I mean, I try and look at, I guess, like recent form, right? So like Leicester's been doing well lately. I'm more likely to go with them. Like when they beat Spurs not too long ago, things like that. But I don't do any, deep dive research into the past 8 years and how they play when it's raining versus when it's 18 degrees outside. I don't do anything like that. I ain't got time for that. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah, I believe that. And, I was doing a little bit of that, definitely not to that level. And Christian's just been kicking my ass. So I've sort of given up on the research and trying to go with my gut more. Clearly that didn't work here, but hopefully, it works out for me in the future. I will say, because we're toying with, trying to figure out how to make it more engaging. So we were looking at, you got 9 out of the 10 results correct for the last week. So you predicted, so that was really impressive. I want to give you props for that.
Thank you. I think the only one I missed was Arsenal United. I think I had
Arsenal it was the last one.
Yeah. By 1. But in the end they tied 1-1. But yeah, I was really hoping to get all 10 of them right, because like even though there's no money on this, to me like it is more about like pride and I guess my wuss way of gambling, because I don't like to gamble. I'm too scared of the downside risk of that.
I'm the exact same way, man.
Yeah, so for me, this is as far as I can go, and I was this close, man. I really wanted it.
Yeah, that's quite frankly why we do these videos. I mean, I know some people use them for gambling purposes. I don't advocate for that, but it's just fun to kind of predict, and if we get it right, we can kind of have that little boost of self-confidence. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying there. So you are a Chelsea fan, correct? I believe that. How are you feeling about Chelsea's season thus far?
I've had kind of neutral, mixed feelings so far, just because as many times as they've given up leads and set piece defense has been terrible. We saw that in the Champions League just the other day. But they are kind of getting results, right? And even more recently, they finally got their first clean sheet of the year, first win at home and all that. So I think Lampard is finally finding his right setup and formation. And I think the back three recently that they've been using a few times has been working. And so I have a feeling he's going to stick with that. And I think the youth revolution at Chelsea is coming along very well. And so I'm excited about that. They're continuing to improve and make their mark. So that part, I see it going kind of more up and up as the season goes on, hopefully.
Do you think Lampard's a long-term solution?
No one at Chelsea's ever long-term. I will say this. I don't think he gets fired. I mean, short of brandishing a gun at Cobham, he's not getting fired. So he'll be there. I mean, unless he wants to quit, which I would imagine there's no reason that would happen. But he's going to be there for at least a year. And I mean, if he continues to get results and if he continues to get production out of all the kids that he's playing, then I would see no reason for him or for him to get the sack or for him to walk away. I mean, they've extended all the contracts, or not all of them, but most of the young guys. Mount recently, I think Abraham's in the works. Hudson-Odoi,
yeah.
Loftus-Cheek got one in the summer. So obviously the board believes in this. And I would imagine that if Lampard is the one guiding them to maybe not success yet, but hopefully in the future, there'd be no reason for him to leave.
What would be a successful season for you?
Top four.
Top four?
Going into the year, I didn't think it was going to happen, and I still have my doubts, especially because they're young and they're going to make young mistakes, whether it's, switching off at times or not being able to finish games or, whatever young kids do that they shouldn't. So because of that, I still have my doubts about them finishing in the top four, but I think that has to be what would be considered a successful season.
Fair enough. And we were talking about the kids that are playing. Now let's touch on one of the kids that's not playing as of right now, Christian Pulisic. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
So I want to preface it with this. I think anytime people say things like on Twitter or whatever, people view it as like you're in favor of it and you're pulling for that, which is not necessarily the case, right? When you do a podcast, your show, my show, we're giving opinions. We may not necessarily want it to happen, but it's what we think is going to happen. And so I want to preface it with that. I'm very disappointed as a fan, of course, that Pulisic, not only is he not playing, he's going downward. All the momentum is negative, having not made the matchday squad in the Champions League. And so I think he's going on loan in January. And I've been saying for a few weeks now, I think he's going to go on loan. And again, I'm not advocating this, this is what he needs to do, or this is going to be the best thing or whatever. But I think ultimately that's what's going to happen because, again, it's not just that he's not playing, it's the downward momentum. And to me, it seems as if, if he's not even going to get a shot to play, there's no reason for him to sit on the bench. It's not like he's subbing on every now and then. It's not like he's the next guy in line. He's nowhere near it at this point. So why would you have him just literally his value erode away on the bench? If Chelsea want to recoup their investment, obviously right now it's not happening on the field. The only way to recoup it monetarily is to send him on loan, have him play well, and then sell him on. And hopefully he comes good like, other missed players Chelsea has had, De Bruyne and Mo Salah being the two most famous ones.
And so you don't think with the fixture congestion that happens in the wintertime and he's moving to a country. I know he lived there when he was like 7 or 8 years old, but he's moving to a new country, new club. You don't think it's just, this is what happens. He's a young player trying to get embedded in his new club.
What about Coutinho? He's doing just fine at Bayern. Yeah, you're right. That could be the case. But with that, I think whenever people say, he needs time to adjust, new country, new league, I'm sure that's true for some people. Everyone's different. But to me, you can't use that like as an excuse. Even when he has played, he hasn't done very well. And so to me, again, he's going downward. I don't think, he's going to get minutes. I think that's true. You're right. With 4 competitions, Christmas time in England, he's going to get minutes, sure. But clearly he's really far down the pecking order. And if he is going to get any better, he has to be playing more regularly than what he's doing now. Playing once, twice a month is not going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Where would you want him to go? I know you don't want him to go on loan, but saying that, he's likely to go on loan, where would be good for him, do you think?
I think most likely he goes to Crystal Palace. They already have a good working relationship as Gary Cahill just got sold there. Batshuayi and Loftus-Cheek have been there on loan in recent seasons. Their attack isn't very solid anyways. Zaha's untouchable, but other than that, Ayew has, I think, only 2 goals, and Townsend has 1. They've only scored 6 Premier League goals all season, so they need help in attack as well. And plus for Pulisic, like you said, coming to a new place, he doesn't have to move. It's still in London. He has a longer commute, but 6 months after arriving, he then has to move again. That could be like even more devastating than already being relegated to not on the bench. So I think staying in London is probably going to be where what happens. I don't know if West Ham would want to take him just because why? Like they're doing fine without him. Why would they want to include him? They already have too many guys up front. So I think Crystal Palace is probably the most likely destination.
That's a good shout. And I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world for him to go there as long as he gets minutes, right? And that's what I think we all want. So that would be really interesting to follow. And it's going to be an interesting time over the next 2 or 3 months to follow him in his career. I want to talk about your podcast and what you got going on as well. So you're a host of On the Counter podcast. Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, I like to call it the voice of the American Premier League fan. So every Monday and Thursday, I do new episodes where we talk about the major stories going on in the Premier League, Champions League, and U.S. men's national team. I try not to do too much like game breakdown just because most people who are listening, they already saw the game or they saw the highlights. Like I'm not breaking news to them. And if they're only listening, if I'm just breaking down a game, like it's hard for them to kind of imagine, this player moved this way. He did this with his feet. So I try and stay away from that. I like to think of it kind of like talk radio, like in the U.S. that you would hear, if it's like Colin Cowherd or Clay Travis or Dan Patrick, something like that. So that's the way I like to kind of style my show. And actually in the past few weeks, one of my buddies, we've been friends for a long time. He's been coming on the show more regularly. And when he comes on, we usually try and make it like a lot more comedic. Like we get a lot more flagrant. We'll go on tangents, telling jokes. We curse a lot more. And those are a lot of fun as well. We do, of course, talk about the news and different things that are happening, but that's definitely much more of an adult audience show.
All right, very cool. And then you also have drewpels.com, right, where you blog a little bit. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my website, I post links to all the podcasts as well, but it's also where I write. So I freelance for a couple sites, and then I always have like a copy of the article on my site. So I just wrote one earlier this week about Christian Pulisic not playing and why I think he's going to Crystal Palace. I did one after Spurs got humiliated by Bayern. And I did, what else? I don't know. Every week I do usually 2 or 3 articles. And on Sundays after the end of the Premier League weekend, I do like a weekend wrap up with the top performances. So yeah, drewpels.com is where everyone can go and sign up for my email list where you get everything sent to you. Plus you get news of the day and short stories and different things like that. drewpels.com/emails where you can sign up. It's all free. And you don't have to find me. I find you because I send everything right to your inbox.
All right, there you go. And I remember when we had you on last time, you were doing, I can't remember if you called it like the power bottoms or the not power rankings or something like that. Are you still doing that?
No. So
okay.
Yeah. So it's called the power bottoms, which is the opposite of the power rankings. It's kind of like the worst of the week. Uh-huh. And do you know why I call it that? Like, do you get what that means, a power bottom?
I mean, is it from like It's Always Sunny and whole world or no? Okay, so no, I don't know where it comes from.
No, so power bottom, it's it's a term in the non-heterosexual world.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, yes, we're on the same wavelength. Okay. Yes.
So that's what I use it for. So it's supposed to be like the worst of the week. But I stopped writing it because like the intent was to be funny, but I was kind of like I felt like I was forcing jokes in. Like I never felt like jokes were coming like smoothly or naturally. And also some weeks I felt like I just had to like crap on teams nonstop. And I felt like bad because if they had a bad week, bad game or whatever, like take Spurs against Bayern, but like to just like pile it on them to me, I didn't like that. It didn't feel very natural to me. So I kind of stopped doing that. But the ones I did do, they're still on my site. If you scroll back towards the beginning, like in the history, you can go find them.
Yeah, and so make sure to check them out. And honestly, so we don't break down game usually the same way you do because I tend to find that oftentimes we skew more negative and like, I don't know, we're not exactly professional soccer players, so who are we to like criticize? So I can definitely relate to what you're talking about there. So
and also for you guys, all three of you have like your own segment where you go into something. And so you're not always talking about games. And that's something I think that is better. Because most podcasts, you're not, like you said, you're not a professional athlete. So to a certain degree, I think a lot of people kind of think, well, why should I listen to you? You didn't play, how do you know this was actually the tactic?
Yeah, exactly.
So I try, my highest soccer achievement on the field was saving 2 penalties in an intramural game in college. So that is in no way qualification for like breaking down game film.
Well, it's definitely an accomplishment nonetheless. So congrats on that.
I was off my line. If VAR was in play in intramural soccer at Oregon State University, they would have retaken the penalties both times.
Thank God it was not then. And here you are bragging about it years later. So that is fantastic. Drew, can you tell people, I know we touched on your website, can you tell people where to find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So drewpels.com is the website, Twitter @drewpels, and then the podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, On the Counter with Drew Pels. Make sure to use my name. That will help you find it a lot easier.
Awesome. Anything else you wanted to touch on or mention before we get out of here?
I just want to reiterate, this is a participation trophy. I feel like the U.S. playing Colombia for the second time at Copa America 2016. Just third place games mean nothing. If I won a bronze medal for this appearance, I would throw it in the trash. Not a shot at you. Just saying I don't believe in participation trophies. But thank you for having me on, Dave.
Of course. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us here. I hope you had a good time. I certainly did. And wish you all the best. Everybody make sure to go follow Drew on Twitter. Check out all of his work on his website and also listen to On the Counter podcast.
Check out our friends at Stadium Scene if you're going to any stadium in the US or Canada for any sport. They have information on what to do around the stadium, what events are happening in the area, where to park, and food and restaurants that I was about to say, but that's not right. It's bars and restaurants and that type of stuff.
They have food.
I mean, they have food at some of those places, and I can't speak. So, Dave, what else do they do?
Yeah, they also partner with content creators like us at Bros Talking Soccer and lots of other sports content. They offer podcasts, YouTube videos, blog posts, and more across a variety of sports, not just specific to soccer, lots of other sports. And so check it all out at stadiumscene.tv.
Oh, it's Christian Corner time. Super exciting. Let's go. All right, so we're going to start off with a Liverpool topic because Matt's not here. I could take over the Liverpool stuff this week. Very exciting. Klopp is upset about Jesse Marsch's first half. My good Lord.
You're like me right now. What's going on?
I know. I'm just so excited that you're here.
Birthday?
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I had cake. That's what happened. All right, so
Jesse Marsch.
Marsch.
There you go.
Gave a halftime team talk during the Liverpool match in the Champions League. And what happened was Salzburg tweeted out, I don't know, they posted it on social media in some way, his talk in the locker room, which usually you don't see any of those really posted. Klopp freaked out about it. He really disliked it. He said if Liverpool ever did that with one of his team talks, he would leave the club immediately. I don't think Jesse Marsch has really cared too much about it. Dave, what do you think about this happening?
Well, so I think it's probably a cultural thing. So Americans just are used to that. Like across all our sports, like just media access is given. And I know locker rooms, specifically like South Americans this year, were talking about it. I think it was Pity Martinez was like out of his mind that there were media in the locker room after the game, because in South America, that's not a thing. The locker room's like a sacred place. And I don't know if it's a similar thing over in Europe, but I know with America, we're just very used to media being around, and it's probably not that big of a deal. And so it's probably just like a cultural thing. I didn't see the actual interview or not even interview, the video. And so I don't know if what he said, there was a lot of like nuanced things or things that were like super secretive. Did you watch it?
No.
Okay, all right. So we're coming from a place of...
But I don't think it really went into tactics much at all. So I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Okay, so yeah, for me, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if he's giving away like their tactical setup and their plans, yeah, it's probably
it worked. Big deal. So it didn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, them coming back?
They came back in the game, and they pretty much deserve to get at least a point in that game against Liverpool.
Yeah, so. And speaking as a fan, like I think it's awesome seeing that stuff. Like we've never been
get to see it.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, I mean, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I really don't have that much of a problem with it. I would have a problem with Jurgen Klopp leaving, so Liverpool don't ever do this. But yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You see it specifically in American football. You see it with the NFL all the time. If you hear the garbage disposal running, my parents know that we're doing a podcast right now. It's just don't care.
Or a man sneezing.
That also was happening. But yeah, so I have no problem with this. Like I was saying, American football, they do this all the time.
Yeah,
at the end of the game, you see them dancing and stuff at the end. You see them giving talks all the time. So I don't think this is a big deal at all. Yeah, and I understand why certain people would be upset, specifically if they're giving away secrets and like team tactics or just their motivational speeches, because that is a private thing. But in this case, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, and if Salzburg, I'm sure that they like vetted it and were like, hey, like
no, they just posted it.
Yeah, we're not just going to post it. I'm sure that like they made sure that there wasn't anything super secretive in there. So yeah, I'm fine with this whole thing.
They actually hired a really secret spy to hide in the corner, and he was in a bag. It was pretty crazy. Just insider scoop here. I know nobody knows about this, but it's true.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add on this?
No, you're very sweaty right now.
I'm really sweaty. I'm just
okay?
It's the cake, the cake. All right.
Usually I'm the sweaty one. Oh, I'm sweaty, but under there. Not on
it's
my
really
face.
hot down here, though.
It's not.
When I first walked down here earlier, I was dying.
Okay.
It's usually freezing down here, so I'm used to living in an icebox.
Yes. Okay.
So that's probably what that is. So we're gonna move on to the next topic of conversation, which is Aubameyang's little feud with the Dortmund CEO. I don't know if it's owner or CEO.
I think it's CEO.
But I think he's CEO too, and it's Vaxa, I think, or Watzke or something. That's how you pronounce it, I believe. So he is the CEO of Dortmund, and he has made comments about Aubameyang, saying Aubameyang, for leaving Dortmund to go to Arsenal, must be so sad on Wednesday nights watching Dortmund play in the Champions League. Aubameyang said, I don't know why he's talking about me. The man's a joker. And I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous that this feud is happening for no reason. But Dave, what do you think about this?
This is so petty and stupid. Like, first off, it came out of no. Well, like, where the hell did this even come from?
There's no reason. Aubameyang never said anything.
Well, yeah. So, like, Aubameyang used to play there, and I think he somewhat like forced the exit. So there might be some frayed relationships, but like, if you're the CEO. Like, shit happens with players. Like, get over it. Why did he say this now? Was he, like, specifically asked by a reporter? Like, I do like to have the full context of some of these stories where if he was, like, sort of goaded into it and a reporter was sort of leading him and then he said that, it sort of makes a little bit more sense. But if he was just asked, like, a random question and then all of a sudden was talking about Aubameyang.
Well, how do you think the game went today? Well, Aubameyang's home and he's probably sad.
Exactly. So, like, I'd like to know a little bit more about the context. But on the surface, this seems incredibly petty from the Dortmund CEO.
Yeah, and I didn't see exactly what led into this, but I just assume that they asked about a player, like players of the past who have moved on, and they may have asked about Pulisic, they may have asked about Aubameyang, players like that. I don't know that for sure, but yeah, it is definitely petty either way. Even if you're prompted to, you say, oh, like those aren't our players anymore, then that's the end of the conversation. Yeah. I don't know why the CEO is being asked questions, because I feel like that's pretty rare too. Usually it's the managers being asked the questions by the media.
They still have to deal with
media. They do a little bit, but you see this a lot with German teams that they get really fired up about this type of stuff. Like Bayern's not letting their team go if Ter Stegen is allowed to play for Germany.
He walked that back. He came back.
Well, he should have. And now Hernandez, was it Lucas Hernandez, the center back, isn't allowed to go to France. And there's not a lot of information, but they're not allowing him to leave the club during the international window.
The left back?
He's a center back for them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know.
So, I mean, you see this stuff with German CEOs and owners that I just don't understand because you don't really see it a lot with other ones. But this one specifically, it's just so petty to throw that out there. Aubameyang obviously did not get along well with him and did force his way out of there. Aubameyang is obviously a world-class player, and they would love to have him in that team. But there's no reason to go and burn bridges more than they've already been burned. Yeah,
and it doesn't make any sense, especially on the burning bridges front. Like, that's not really going to attract players there if, like, once a player leaves, if you're going to be snide towards him, like, I don't know when it ever pays to burn a bridge. So, I don't know. That's just a hot tip for folks. Don't burn bridges. In the long run, it doesn't really benefit you.
Yeah, I mean, you're just ruining everybody's fun when you burn bridges.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just like you have no idea what, dominoes fall and what can happen in the future. Like, just keep good relationships with people. That's a life tip for you out there. This has been your PSA from Dave Canitto. Have a wonderful day.
All right. So, so Aubameyang also said that Dembele was, or the Watzke also said that Dembele would never be sold, and then they got $105 million, I think, for him, and they sold him immediately. You see that all over the place, though, that owners say they're never going to be. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that's as big of a deal, but he was also very, very demonstrative about that happening, and one of the reasons that Aubameyang left is because they did sell Dembele. But yeah, everyone has a price, and that I don't have any problem with the way that went down. They probably were just saying that to increase the price, if anything.
Yeah, that's naive from Aubameyang to think that a player would never be sold, right? I mean, everyone has a price. I mean, even Messi or something like that. If someone's going to out for $500 million or something like that, some ridiculous amount, everyone has a price, or $1 billion or whatever. Whatever ridiculous sum it is, everyone has a price at the end of the day, and so
what would your price be?
$1 billion.
Okay, well there we go. Yeah. Dave's worth $1 billion if you're wondering. All right, so anything else you want to add on this topic?
We were all over the place on that one.
All right, so last topic I'll talk about here is Carragher said Trent Alexander-Arnold should stay at right back for now, but eventually he will become the Kevin De Bruyne of Liverpool. He has that passing range, that vision. I'm not really sure about that happening, but Dave, what are your thoughts about that?
So players a lot of times start on the flanks, right? Whether it's defenders or, center midfielders a lot of times just to break into teams.
Oh, yeah, Steven Gerrard
start on the flanks and, whether it's midfield or outside backs. And the reason being is that nowadays that's where the most space is. And so when you're a young player breaking into a team, the game is much quicker. You got guys coming at you from all different directions and all of that. And so it's a little bit less things that you have to worry about when you're stuck out wide. You have a little bit more space, and also you just, from boundaries that you have to worry about, you cut down on what you really have to worry about. And so I can see it happening. I mean, he's a fantastic right back though. So I don't know if he would be a fantastic center midfielder. I haven't really seen it too much, but he's fantastic right now, and he definitely could do that. I just have no sort of frame of reference on if he's skilled enough to play in the center of the park.
Yeah, his passing range is absolutely insane, though. Like last week, I remember he took a left-footed cross, or not even a cross. He was at midfield, played it to Robertson about 60 yards away, right on a dime. Like, it was a laser pass. It's incredible to me to watch players with their weak foot be able to perform passes like that. And even professionals, you don't see it that often. No. There's very few people who can do that two-footed. I think that his position when he was growing up, he was a center mid. That's where he eventually will be for Liverpool, I think. Right now, he's just one of the best right backs in the world, though, so there's no reason to move him. You're seeing it a little bit with Kimmich at Bayern. He's getting pushed back into the midfield. That's where he played as a youth player as well, and he's really, really good at both positions. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him start to rotate a little bit. I think him with Fabinho in midfield and then one of their other players, probably Wijnaldum or Keita or Ox, one of those types of guys, are the midfield that we will see in the future for the next couple of years. But they don't have another player for right back right now who can fill the role the way Trent does, and they do have midfielders right now in that depth. So right now we won't see it. I kind of agree that he will be the key point for Liverpool in the future. He probably is a future captain, but right now he's definitely not ready for that.
So is he like an attacking center midfielder? Like he's not
more of a true.
Is he like an
he's
8?
like a Gerrard would be.
So he's like an 8 box to box?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me to envision because I've never seen him there. But I don't know if there's just something about him where he's very good going forward, and he's okay defensively, but he's not really asked to do a ton defensively. Like, I don't know.
Well, it must be nice having Van Dijk back there.
Well, exactly. That's probably what it comes back to.
But he'll have Fabinho and Van Dijk behind him in midfield.
Yeah, I guess. It's just tough for me to envision right now. But yeah, he's probably all right.
Yeah, I think he'd be great there, and I think that is where his future is. But he's still only 20 years old, Dave.
Yeah, he's got time.
He's got a lot of time to improve.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy, and that's the hope for all of the players. Anything else you want to add on this conversation?
No, I'm great, Christian.
All right, well, that has been Christian's Corner. It was pretty quick today, Dave. Well, and there was no Matt Smeggs, so yeah, I mean, we didn't get Matt's thoughts on all these things that I know he would love to talk about.
He'll agree with both of us on everything.
Well, he always does. Yes, he does. I mean, he never causes problems for anybody.
Especially not when he's had a couple drinks.
No. That's maybe why he had a migraine today. Probably was drinking way too much over the weekend.
Wild speculation.
It was not wild speculation. I know that for a fact. I was playing FIFA with him. That's how it is.
Okay.
All right. So.
Inside tips.
All right. That has been Christian's Corner. David, you're going to be next with Dave's Domestic Dives.
I'm very excited about it.
And is there going to be music right
now?
There
will be music
Well,
right
hey, guys. Here's the music.
I'd like to welcome on a special guest, Todd Lewis, our first ever back-to-back MLS Quick Kick Picks champion. He is our champion from September with 84 points, almost 20 points ahead of second place. Todd, what's going on? Welcome back to Bros Talking Soccer.
It's going great, Dave. Thanks for having me back, and it's an honor to be the first back-to-back champion. And I think I joked with you through Twitter or something, said, hey, well, maybe you should bring me on with you and Christian now since I'm the first back-to-back champion. So I don't know. We'll see if we get that worked out or not, but it's just great to be back on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe throughout the playoffs or something like that, we get you on, or maybe for next season. But yeah, you've definitely proven your worth at picking MLS games much better than myself. And I actually beat Christian, I want to say for the first time. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back real quick. So Wesley Harton came in second with 65, Soccer Noob 59, the Doopy Brothers 58. And then the rest of the people didn't give weekly predictions every week. Also, quick heads up, I am home. And so if you hear any sort of noise in the background, that is either my parents or the family dogs. So just wanted to give everybody a quick forewarning there. Todd, I think we talked about your strategy last time where you kind of look at the form table and just go with your gut. Any other recommendations or any changes to your strategy since then?
Nope, same thing.
All right. So let's talk a little bit. So we're both Union fans, Philadelphia Union fans. We were both at the game versus NYCFC yesterday and heading into the playoffs. How'd you feel about the game yesterday, and how do you feel about the Union heading into the playoffs?
Oh, I mean, last time I was on here, I was a lot more confident. I told you that we could potentially win first place, which we had a chance against Columbus if we would have won that game, and we all know how that game went with Bedoya getting injured. And then yesterday against New York City, I mean, I knew we were in for a rough day yesterday because I always try to get there an hour and a half before kickoff and everything. So I was watching warm-ups and Casper got hurt in warm-up, so I did something to his left foot, even though I believe Jim Curtin said it's a muscle injury, but it's definitely his foot and everything. I mean, you saw him limping around and everything, and even after the game, I mean, I got him to sign something, and he was just limping around talking to the fans and everything. I mean, hopefully he can come back in 2 weeks because we need him. And, I think a big issue yesterday was for our press to work, it starts with Casper. He'll drop back in the midfield and press and win that ball back and everything. We didn't have that with Andrew Wooten yesterday. And Aronson, I know he tried his best and everything, but when he's the only man trying to push and press, it doesn't work and everything. So having Casper miss that game was a big blow. The own goal by Jamiro, even though I think they gave it as an NYC goal, that was unlucky. I thought Blake could have been better on the first goal. He got a hand to it, and I think a lot of Union fans are going to hate me for this, but I think we need to consider getting a new goalkeeper, looking at somebody to push Blake for the number one. There's been way too many times this season where Blake's got a hand on the ball or he's been caught out of position where that just can't happen. I know goalkeeping in MLS isn't the best and everything. Same with left back. Well, we finally have a good left back, but goalkeeper, if we can try to improve that. I know we brought in Carlos Miguel, who's now back at RB Salzburg, I believe, after his loan got terminated. He was supposed to push Blake for the number one spot and never happened and everything. I guess he probably thought he would get more playing time than he did, and they just decided, hey, let's end the loan. But going back to the game, I mean, we were just flat for the first 30 minutes. I did not like El Senior starting the game. He's always better coming off the bench and everything. I think the formation that works best for us is 4-4-2, not the 4-2-3-1. But at the end of the day, I guess a formation is just a formation, so you've got to be better, and to win only one game out of your last five is not great going into the playoffs. But we have a big game against New York Red Bulls in 2 weeks on Sunday at 3:00. So hopefully all the fans can come out and make that place a packed house and have less than 100 New York Red Bull fans come there. So don't sell your tickets on StubHub, Union fans. And I'm just looking forward to this game, but I'm not overly confident like I was last month.
Yeah. All right. So I agree with a lot of what you said there. Christian and I were talking just about how ineffective the press looked. It just didn't look coordinated. And I mean, you can kind of understand that with last minute substitutions, and Wooten thinks he's going to be playing on the wing, I think. And then all of a sudden he's starting at center forward, and it just didn't look coordinated. I do think you are spot on as well with Andre Blake. He's made too many mistakes this year. And for someone who was goalkeeper of the year a few years ago, and he didn't get that transfer overseas, the whole work permit issue, I think he's kind of taken a step back. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Union brought in someone. I mean, Ernst Tanner's, the GM is someone who wants to push at every position. And who knows, maybe Matt Freese, who I thought did very well in his, appearances when Blake was injured and then when Carlos was injured, maybe he can push Blake, or maybe they bring in a legit third option and really push all three of them to get better. Or maybe Blake sold this offseason. I don't know. He hasn't had the best offseason, and so I don't know the best season. I don't know how much they can get for him, but I think you're spot on there. For the playoffs, how do you think they match up with the Red Bulls? They beat the Red Bulls 3-2 at Talon, and then they went and they lost in a pretty lackluster performance, about a month or two ago. How do you feel about them matching up with it being a home game?
It's a rivalry game, and anything can happen. Like you said, we came back and won 3-2 against New York at home. We were down 2-0, and if it wasn't for Skilzinho, there's no way that we would have came back and won that game. I know Jamir missed his penalty, and luckily El Senior was there to just slot the ball in and everything. We started off bad, though, in the first half in that game, and it seems like way too many times this season we've started off bad in the first half, and the second half we've always been a better team. And we saw that against New York City yesterday. The team came out, had more of the ball and everything. We're creating more chances. And granted, that was probably more so New York City already thought they had it in the bag and everything. They were comfortable defending and everything. And we just can't start slow in the first half. It's been way too many times that we started slow. And, whoever gets the first goal, they're going to have all the momentum going in their favor. And I think the Union cannot concede first, because if they concede first, their mentality is just going to sink even lower than what it is right now. But it is a home game, and like I said, the fans need to come out and make a great atmosphere, because we have been good at home throughout the season and everything. I think we've been top 2, top 3 best teams in MLS at home this season. So I am happy that we have a home game, but one win in the last 5 games isn't something to be excited about.
Yeah, and the other thing about it being a home game is just being a Philadelphia fan, and especially a Union fan who they haven't had the greatest amount of success. And with the Open Cup final loss, you can actually feel it, the energy in the stadium when they concede. The fans don't always roar the team on when they go down. It can sometimes build that negative energy, and so I think you're again spot on there, where the Union has to come out strong and they need to get a goal, because even the Sons of Ben, the most ardent fans, you feel the energy drop in them when the Union, go down. And I would love to see, more energy coming from the fans to sort of push the team on even when they go down. But I understand the fans' sort of negative sentiment. So, yeah, they do need to come out strong, and they absolutely can. Getting back to what you were talking about with the NYCFC game, yeah, Elsinho at this point in his career, he cannot start. All of his effectiveness is lost, and so he needs to be coming off the bench late on in the game to really push and give the team an option. And hopefully Sergio Santos is going to be healthy. I think the team greatly missed Bedoya this weekend, but they need Sergio Santos back as well to provide that attacking option. So, any other thoughts on the Red Bulls game?
Just going back to what you said about the Sons of Ben just losing the atmosphere. I mean, it happened yesterday. As soon as New York City scored, I always sit in the river end. And so, I mean, I heard fans just joking and everything, not even paying attention to the game and everything. And in my opinion, like, you're sitting in the supporter section, you're supposed to make that atmosphere, not singing, not joking around and everything. It's like, they might be the cheapest tickets, but if you want to joke and all that stuff, go sit someplace else. I mean, sit across at 117. I mean, it's basically the same price for sitting in the river end. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, that mentality as fans, I wouldn't say all fans, but there is a good amount of fans that are sitting in the river end that as soon as they concede a goal, they're quiet, they're joking, they're just not into the game anymore. It's like, don't give up. Like, we've seen so many times this season the Union concede first, but then they come back and push one and win. It's like, I guess it goes down to the whole Philadelphia thing. With me being a newer Union fan, I'm not used to Philadelphia sports always collapsing when it matters most, but I guess these fans have seen it a lot and everything, and they're like, well, same old Union. And I guess the meme that I always see going around, that's so Union. So I guess I haven't really experienced that yet, but it's like, why give up on these guys? Like, they have the players and everything, and just don't give up on your team.
Yeah, hopefully you won't have to experience it. And, I also tend to skew on the more positive side. So I try to stay positive, but it's always been disheartening when, the Sons of Ben. I always go back to when I went to Germany one time, I saw Bayern play Mainz, and Mainz actually took the lead at the Allianz, so at Bayern Stadium. And as soon as they scored, the Bayern fans were probably the loudest, just sort of getting behind their team and saying like, it's okay, we're going to come back, and just providing that energy. And Bayern went on to win like 5-1 or something like that. They absolutely destroyed them. But, and I know Bayern's a different case, but it would be nice to see that from the fans. So anything else before we talk about Manchester United?
One last thing, and I'll try to keep this under 30 seconds. If you're a Union fan out there, I went to the Bethlehem Steel game right after the Union game last night. Matt Freese looked decent in goal. I know they have a lot of young players playing in the back line and everything, but one player that really stood out to me was Cole Turner. I know he got offered a contract for the Union starting next season. He's been playing center back, even though he's more of a natural center midfielder. Guy has great vision and everything. He's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, but his vision is top notch. And if I could compare him to a player, I would compare him to Michael Carrick, really, of Manchester United. He could play a makeshift center back role, but mostly he'd play in the middle of the park, and his vision's top notch. And that's what the Union are going to need to replace Harrison Union, because he's 34 years old. He's not going to be around forever. So I think Cole Turner could be that like for like replacement for next year and the years onward.
Awesome. That is really good insight. Any quick question, going to nerd out on Union fandom. Was Ofemu playing at center back or no? Ben Ofemu? He's like 6'3", like really big. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've been wondering how he's developing. Okay. So that's enough Union fandom. I'm sure all the rest of the podcast listeners.
All right, buddy.
No. I love it. So, that was fantastic. Switching gears a little bit. So Manchester United, your Man U fan, hasn't been the greatest run of form, most recently losing to Newcastle. I can't remember exactly what we talked about as far as, your stance on Ole. I want to say you said give him time last time you were on. Do you still view that? Has anything changed?
I mean, I want to, but you look at Spurs, where they're not off to the best start, where they fire Pochettino, and I ultimately believe Manchester United's number one choice was Pochettino in the summertime, but there was no way that they were going to pay the release clause to Daniel Levy to get a coach in and everything. But you don't have to pay that clause if they fire him. So would Manchester United say, hey, Ole, we expected better and everything, just thanks for being a club legend. Thanks for trying to keep this thing afloat, but we're just going to cut our ties now. And would Pochettino come in? Possibly, but you look at Barcelona. Barcelona are struggling in La Liga, and I feel like Barcelona would be a better project for Pochettino than Manchester United. So you're saying no. So what are your thoughts on that?
So no, I agree with you. So he's got a connection to Barcelona through the fact that he played for Espanyol during his career, and he has already said he'll never manage there. Now, he seems like a man of principle and will actually stick to his word. So I'd be shocked if he does go to Barcelona. I do think it's a more attractive option if he didn't have that sort of weird connection with Espanyol. But sorry to interrupt there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And I thought it was something fishy like that too. And then I was saying on our podcast, Real Madrid could be an option too, but it seems like Zidane has Real Madrid playing better than what they started off as. So maybe not yet, but maybe Pochettino, if he does get fired, he stays a year out of soccer like we've seen a lot of coaches do. And maybe he comes back and has a better offer than Manchester United. But, it's not good. Manchester United, our midfield is just atrocious. You would think that they would have brought in midfielders in the summertime. They did not. Oldie says he's happy with his players he brought in, even though I think that's just a cover-up for the Glaciers and everything. But it's really, really hard to watch and everything. But, you got to support your team, and I really don't have anything else to say other than that. So
Yeah, I don't want to harp too much on it. So you mentioned your podcast. So can you tell people a little bit about your podcast?
My podcast I host is the Free Kick Podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast by searching the Free Kick Soccer Podcast. We cover the English Premier League. We cover the Champions League. We record twice a week, and then occasionally we'll do grassroots teams over in England that are playing in the railway leagues over there. So our most recent episode we've had on was Southwestern Railway. Give that a listen. It was a really, really good, insightful episode to listen to and just have those guys on. And hopefully I can keep doing more of those episodes because I have a blast doing them. And I made a tweet, I think last week, and said, I love talking Premier League. I love talking Champions League, but talking to real grassroots teams and seeing the everyday struggles that they have, nothing can beat that in my opinion. And you're talking to these guys one-on-one. It's not like, we get Manchester United people in here and everything. So you're talking to people that run the club every day through these grassroots teams. And, that's where soccer starts. That's where it all starts. And, it's a blast just having those guys on and just hearing the stories. And you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram by searching @FreeKickPod. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I highly recommend people listen to the podcast, but specifically those interviews that you've been doing with the Railway League. You've gotten 6 or 7, right, of the teams?
Like
yeah, and so
I'm trying to get more, but they work shift work and everything, and then when you set things up, it doesn't always work out. But hopefully in the future we can get more of those teams that we haven't had on. But if we don't get them on, we'll definitely keep having some of the same people that we've had on to get an update on the leagues and everything. So.
Absolutely. So everyone make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out the Free Kick Pod. Make sure to follow Todd on Twitter. Todd, what's your Twitter handle? I know you said the Free Kick Pod, but what's your one?
It's a Todd's Life.
There you go. It's a Todd's Life. And congrats again, winning our September MLS Quick Kick Picks. You are a champion, 2-time winner. And congrats, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Dave. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And we'll see what happens in the future with Quick Kick Picks.
And welcome everybody to what?
Wait, Brian, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to be recording a promo here, aren't we?
Aren't you supposed to tell people where they can find us?
Yeah, we're What the Hops podcast based out of Buffalo, New York. We like to talk a lot about beer.
A little bit about music.
And all sorts of random things.
So be sure to go find us wherever you get your podcasts and hit up all your social medias and search What the Hops and hit that like button.
Cheers.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Dave's Domestic Dive. I've missed you guys. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to be here. Everyone, the listeners, the viewers, it's been a week. Yes, I've already said I missed you. It's nice to be here in person with you, Christian.
I don't like being touched.
All right, and okay. So first up, the U.S. men's national team. It's got some games coming up. We're playing Cuba and Canada. What is it? Is it the Nations League?
That's of course tradition.
CONCACAF Nations League. So obviously the roster came out and there was lots of turmoil, strife, anxiety from U.S. fans. And so I want to talk about the roster and specifically some surprise inclusions and surprise exclusions. So let's start with the surprise inclusions, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Christian. So first up, I got a couple names here, and then if you have anyone else, feel free to chime in. But surprise inclusions for me were Brendan Aronson, Philadelphia Union midfielder, Will Trapp, Christian Roldan, Daniel Lovitz, Gyasi Zardes, and DeAndre Yedlin. So let's go with those in order. So first up, Christian, anyone else you want to add before we get into it?
Okay.
All right. So Aronson there, what do you think about him being in?
Absolutely shocking to me that they included him. He's still only 18, right? I don't think he turned 19 yet.
He may have turned 19. One of the podcasts I was listening to, one of the Union ones.
He's a very, very creative midfielder, but yesterday you could see he kind of can get pushed off the ball a little bit. He doesn't really have the pace, and at the international level, it is way more physical fitness, or not fitness, but physical attributes play a big role. Yeah. And because the U.S. kind of rely on that, we don't really have a set system or tactics right now, in my opinion, when I watch us. In these types of games, I know, but it's taken a long time. And for an 18-year-old, that's very, very difficult type of situation to get thrown into. I think that he has a future at the international level, but probably is too early right now.
And I'm of the same opinion. Now, I think 26 players did get called in. I'd be surprised if he gets any game time here. This may just be an instance of he's done really well in MLS. I think he's appeared in like 25 plus matches for the Union. Yesterday, he was one of the best players on the pitch. Finishing let him down, but he was getting into good spots. He takes the ball under pressure. He's really good with the turn. And I think he does have a bright future. This may just be Berhalter kind of giving him a reward for that. And I'd be really surprised to see him out there. I know I was surprised to see him even called into camp. I think he's going to play a huge role for the U23 team as they try to qualify for the Olympics. And so I think that's ultimately where he's going to be. But he really does need to, like you said, bulk up, get a little bit faster. But he's 18, maybe 19. I think he'll add that this offseason, and he really needs to work on his finishing. But I'm excited about him. But I think it is a little bit too early, and I was surprised to see him called in. Anything else you want to add on Aronson? No. All right, next up, Will Trapp. I mean, we've kind of harped on this. And I know that the U.S. is dealing with some injuries at center midfield. What's his name? Morales, is hurt. And I guess Will Trapp's the only one to fill in here. But what do you think about Will Trapp being there?
Not great. Yeah. I just think that he is a good MLS player, but that's about the extent of what he will be. He's at an age right now, he's not going to really improve too much. And he's not bringing that much quality into the team. I'm over Will Trapp. I'm sorry.
Yeah, at the national team level. And also, I just don't want to see him get a lot of time. And I get that he's a pretty good leader, apparently, and that he's respected and does well at the MLS level, maybe some of the lower CONCACAF Nations League teams. But we need to start blooding in new players. And I don't know if it's Jackson Ewell or who's going to play that center defensive midfield role. I assume Bradley should be starting in both these games. That's what I would like to see. But yeah, it's just, I don't know who else is going to be there. That's what I'm kind of stumbling over. I don't love that Will Trapp's there, but I don't know who else you'd call in. Any thoughts on that or no?
Not right now.
All right. Christian, I don't know if we even want to go through these in order. I mean, Christian Roldan, Daniel Lovitz, Gyasi Zardes, they all kind of fall into the same camp for me. They're good MLS players, just not of the quality internationally.
Seeing Gyasi Zardes' name makes me want to throw my computer that we're recording with right now through the wall. Like, he's done. He's washed up. Get over it. Like, he needs to stop being called into the international camp. He scores goals when he gets the ball fucking kicked against him. He does not provide enough. He can't really hold the ball up well, and he isn't able to really get in behind or create goal scoring opportunities for his teammates or himself. He's a decent, not good, decent MLS player. This is just unbelievable that we keep calling him in. And I know it's one of the Columbus guys that Berhalter was working with, but get over it. You're not at Columbus anymore. You don't need to have those ties anymore.
So who do you want to see called in? Because that's what it comes back to, right? Like, I agree Gyasi isn't the greatest, and I would be happy if he wasn't called back in. But what are our other options? Bobby Wood isn't playing for...
I still would rather have him, even if he's not playing right now.
Really?
He's a better player than Gyasi Zardes.
I guess. But Bobby Wood has a lot of the same. I mean, I haven't been super impressed with Bobby Wood and his national team.
Is Weah called in right now?
Weah's hurt. He's got a really bad hamstring, like tear or something like that. He hasn't played for Lille in months.
I assume Sargent's called in.
Sargent's called in.
Joe got hurt.
Josie got hurt yesterday. So I don't know.
It should just be Sargent then starting in these games.
But you need to have backups. Like, you need to have somebody else.
I understand that, but...
So who would you want to have?
I don't care anybody else right now. I can't deal with him.
All right, fair enough. Surprise exclusions here. The big one is Serginho Dest. I can't remember how exactly we're pronouncing it because he's got that little thing over top of the N. But he hasn't officially made his commitment to the Netherlands, but he more or less declined this call-up because he wasn't certain that he was ready to commit to the United States. Christian, what do you think about Dest basically declining the call-up for right now?
It makes me very scared that he's going to go to the Netherlands because just that is a very, very scary thing when they reject a call-up. But I still don't know. The Netherlands also have to call him up, right, for that to even occur. They are obviously a very, very talented team, and he's a clear starter for the U.S. I don't know how much time he would get with the Netherlands.
Apparently,
right now.
they are not strong at right back. Apparently, I was listening to one of the podcasts, so there may be an opportunity for him to get minutes a lot sooner than what he would have thought.
And you get to play with somebody like Van Dijk on that team, so
it's understandable.
Obviously, I understand why he would do that, but it's tough to see for a team that have called him in. He's played for already. If we were to lose him now, that's tough.
It is tough. At the end of the day, though, I understand he's an 18-year-old kid who's just breaking through with Ajax. He grew up in the Netherlands. He's been in U.S. camps for a few years, but a lot of his connections and a lot of his pull is to the Netherlands. It's a very difficult decision for these dual nationals because they have two identities. And so if he ends up choosing the Netherlands, I'm not going to hold it against him or anything like that. It's just I'll be disappointed as a U.S. fan. I know you will. Anything else on? And so because Dest isn't called in, I think that's probably why Lovitz gets the call in, or Yedlin. I know we kind of glossed over Yedlin. I am surprised that Yedlin was called in because he played one full game and then 16 minutes. So it is a little bit surprising. So hopefully he's
definitely the most senior right back that we can call in right now. It's not really that surprising to me.
Well, it's more just injury risk. Like he just got back healthy. Now he's got to fly across the Atlantic, play some minutes and then fly back. It's just, I was a little bit surprised at that. I'm happy to see him there. It's just slightly surprising for me. So moving on, Paxton Pomykal. He wasn't called in as a center midfielder. I would like to see him over.
That's probably surprising to me. I think that he's a more creative and obviously more long-term solution to a midfield problem, specifically in the attacking midfield type of role.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I want to say that, again, speculation here. We didn't double-check this, but I want to say Pomykal wasn't called into the U23s either, which is surprising to me. Is there happening right now?
They thought that he was going to get called in, or did they call him in after?
There's coordination.
I don't think so. I think it's just like a separate
It's everyone
entity,
doing
right?
their own thing. No, so it is slightly surprising. I know his form is kind of tailed off a little bit in MLS play, and he's also played a ton of soccer, and it may just be that he needs a break, which if that's the reasoning behind it, I'm okay with it. I think he still has a bright future. I just was slightly disappointed not to see him here. Dwayne Holmes was another surprise exclusion. He's really starting to do well with Derby County, another center midfielder who I would have liked to have seen over Trapper Roll Down. Any thoughts on Dwayne Holmes?
I do not have any.
Okay. I originally included Miles Robinson, that's what it is, because he was excluded. But Walker Zimmerman got hurt in the LAFC game yesterday, had to withdraw from the USMNT. So Miles Robinson is now with the senior full team, which I am excited about. And so that is good. And then lastly, Richie Ledesma and Alex Mendez. So they're two youth players who play for second teams in the Netherlands. One plays for PSV. Ledesma plays for PSV. Mendez plays for Ajax, but both their second teams. Both are creative attacking midfielders. Mendez is less mobile, but has a ridiculous left foot and is incredibly talented. Ledesma is another one, highly talented attacking midfielder, a little bit more of a work rate, so I think would fit in very well as either a number 10 or possibly even one of the 8 positions. And Mendez is kind of just can only play number 10. You know much about them or have any thoughts on them not being included?
I don't know much about them, really.
So what do you think about them being second, team players in the Netherlands, still playing at a high level, but not being on the first team? I know a lot of people speculate or just say that they only want players playing for first teams to get call-ups. Do you subscribe to that or
not? Really, not for youth players, for people of that
I'm talking
age.
about the national team, like the senior national team. Do you have any issues with them getting called up to the senior national team if they're only playing with Ajax 2 or whatever the heck they call their young Ajax?
No. Definitely not.
Okay.
I mean, they're not getting as high of a level of competition. So when they step into the national team, it is going to be different. But the game's played completely differently. So whether they're in the Eredivisie or I guess the Eredivisie 2, I don't know what it's called.
No, it's Eerste Divisie. I think it's Eerste.
Okay, then it's still a different competition altogether. Stepping into the U.S. national team, the competition is completely different when you're playing against CONCACAF teams. It's completely different.
Case by case basis.
Yeah, exactly. So with these guys, they're playing on a team that is in a very competitive league. And even if it's the second division, they're getting experience playing with the top level too in training. So I don't have a problem with them being called in if they were to be called in.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm just realizing now that we should have, at the end of your section, should have said that we were going to an interview with Todd Lewis because people will have heard that. So I forgot that. But shout out, Todd. Your interview will have come already. And listeners, hopefully you enjoyed that. I forgot to mention that. So, all right. Anyways, lastly, injured players. Tyler Adams is still hurt. Timothy Weah is still hurt. John Brooks is hurt. Morales is hurt. Josie apparently Josie apparently got hurt. Don't know if he's going to be included. And then lastly, Walker Zimmerman. Anything you want to mention on those injured players?
It's very, very, very annoying that a lot of these good players are still missing. I wish Nagbe would come in as well. That's very annoying to me. But Weah, I want to see him with the national team. I want to see what he can provide. I think if we get him, Sargent, and Pulisic as our front three and start to play together a couple of times, it'll be interesting to see what chemistry that they can build together. And I wish Nagbe would be that role in behind them. But even someone like Pomical, if those four, they're very, very young, can build up some chemistry. Too. And McKennie and Adams is the other two. So those are probably the top 6 players that we could see over this World Cup cycle and into the next one probably after that. So I hope we can see that sometime soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. I know
and John Brooks too is just so frustrating because he's by far the best center back that we can put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I hope the same thing. I'm really curious to see what happens with these games. Cuba is going to be a weird game because they constantly lose players from defection. I know that they're dealing with a lot of, I think they're down like 6 of their normal players at least that have already defected. And the game I'm really excited about is Canada because Canada has a lot of momentum going for them. They have really good attacking players. Now at the back, they have some question marks, and the U.S. is going through a period of crisis right now. And so that game's going to be huge, and I want to see the U.S. come out strong. It's in Canada. It's at Toronto. And so hopefully they come out strong and put in a good performance. But I'm really curious to see how these games go. Anything else you want to say on the U.S.? All right. Next thing, talking about the U.S. men's national team, but 2 legends that are calling it a career. DeMarcus Beasley and Tim Howard both retired this weekend. Wanted to say congrats to each of them. DeMarcus went out with a win and Tim Howard went out with a loss to LAFC, but absolutely incredible national team careers. Definitely top 10 for each of them in the U.S. men's national team's history, I would say. Arguably top 5. You can get into what they've done in both their club and international careers. Christian, let's start with DeMarcus Beasley. What do you think about his career? What do you remember him for?
I'd probably say the 2002 World Cup is probably one of his biggest moments that they made a real run and they possibly could have made. Would they have made the semifinal if they won that game against Germany? I think. Was it the quarterfinal? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So they got a little bit cheated in that game, and he's just had such longevity. Even today, he's so fast still and can play at a high level. So it was surprising how just he was able to keep his body fit. And
he's like 140 pounds. He's
it's
so
crazy
tiny
to me. But even at the national level, you never really saw him getting pushed off the ball. He was still a very, very strong player. I think his left foot obviously was very good. It was great that he started as an attacking player and then was able to fill the role that we really needed at left back over the years. And he's just a great player overall.
Yeah, and he started and was a critical part of a PSV team that went to the Champions League semifinals. Yeah. I think that's the farthest an American has ever gone in that competition. And so because he came about kind of in the age right before the internet really blew up soccer coverage in this country, I feel like a lot of people don't even recognize how much he accomplished in his European career. What's up?
I was going to ask if Pulisic was part of that team that went to the final for Dortmund, but I don't think he was in the team yet.
No, the Champions League final?
Yeah.
When, in 2002? In 2012-13 when they lost to Bayern? No, that was before. That was before his time. But yeah, incredible career, incredible national team career. If the U.S. would have made the 2018 World Cup, there's a chance that he would have been on that team as a left back. And so that would have been, I think, 5 World Cups for him. And just an incredible player, excellent career. Tim Howard, kind of similar vein, had a ridiculously long career with Everton. Started, I think he's the record holder for consecutive games started or something like that. I don't know.
Friedel.
No. Oh, yeah. You're right. That's across the entire Premier League. But Tim Howard, fantastic career. What do you remember him for?
Belgium.
Yeah.
That's definitely the highlight of his career in my eyes. That game where he had, I think it was 16 saves against Belgium. They went to overtime at 0-0. They went down 2-0 and almost came back still.
Julian Green.
If Julian Green made the shot. If Dempsey scores that clever free kick that we did, the quick one where he got in behind, I mean, you don't know. Anything could happen, especially if you got Howard in the goal for a penalty shootout. Yep, Wando also missed. But Howard kept us in that game that whole time. And you always felt when he was on the field, we had a chance against anyone just because he could have games like that. He's definitely the best goalkeeper we've ever provided as a U.S. player. Top 3 players ever for the U.S., hands down, in my opinion. And just no question about that, in my opinion. So we're going to miss him. His leadership on the field, just his drive. What? Oh, God.
We got Spider. All right, continue.
Okay. And, so I think it's up against the wall. I just think that he's going to – there's shoes over there. No, oh my God. I think that he's going to be remembered as one of the greats in American history, and he's going to continue to – oh, you missed. Dave. There you go. You missed him. Oh, yeah. So this is fun. This is a really fun experience right now.
All right, continue.
That was really all I had to say. So I was just rambling there, even though I said it.
Yeah, that's super
times.
Interesting. All right. Excellent work. We'll get that later. Yeah, and Tim Howard, just what a fantastic career, and go down in history. And we're honestly, the U.S. is missing him. I know Stefan has a ton of talent. It's just Tim Howard was so ridiculously good for so long. It was just, you never had to think about it as a U.S. fan. He was just always in net. He took care of himself. I can't even remember too many camps that he lost due to injury. And so, excellent career. Anything else you would like to say?
No.
All right. Okay. Now, moving back to MLS and talking about LAFC. So they finished. You doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So LAFC finished the regular season with 72 points, I believe, is what they finished with. They scored 85 goals, won the Supporters' Shield, I think had the biggest goal differential in MLS history. So, Christian, where do you rank does LAFC, or do you consider them to be the best MLS side of all time? And yes, it was 72 points, which is a record.
They are the best team that I've seen. And I think that it's up there with Atlanta from last year, but I think LAFC probably are the most complete team from back to front. I think defensively, they were the best team that I've seen in MLS, and just their attacking ability, specifically when Carlos Vela was on the field. He's probably the best player we've seen over the course of one season in MLS history. I mean, he's had a ridiculous amount of goals. Obviously, he had the record there, and also had a lot of assists this season. So he was providing so many goals, creating so many chances. And Atlanta, for as good as they were last year, and Toronto even the year before with Giovinco, who was obviously so good, this is the best team we've seen.
Do trophies play a role in it? Because Toronto won the treble. They're the only MLS team to have ever done that. So they won their version of the Open Cup, the Canadian Championship. They won Supporters' Shield, and they won MLS Cup. LAFC obviously didn't win the Open Cup. If they don't win MLS Cup, does that factor into your decision? Does it change your opinion at all?
Probably not, because I'm just thinking regular season. I think Toronto obviously were incredibly talented as well, but I think the level of competition this year is way better than it was 2 years ago. It's getting better every single year, and it's not like a substantial amount, but the level of competition is better.
Yeah, and overall. I know we have Sal joining us live on YouTube chiming in, and I know he's a Galaxy fan, so he says the refs helped LAFC, and they are not the best team ever. I think if you look at it on the surface, this time period in MLS is the most talented across all of the rosters because of the investment going into the teams. And on top of it, I think this is the best team we've ever seen in MLS just because of how talented they are back to front. I think they could probably upgrade at keeper, but their defense has been really good. Their outside backs are getting a little bit up there in age, but their two center backs are fantastic. And going forward, their midfield is ridiculous. And then their attack is just out of this world. Vela scoring 34 goals, MLS regular season record. I think this is the best team. And I don't think that they have to win MLS Cup to seal that. I think that they are that, and that would just be icing on the cake. anything else. Sal is saying that the Galaxy squad that won the MLS Cup and Supporter Shield was better. I just don't. If you put these teams up against each other right now, I think LAFC would win that game, Sal. And I know you might disagree. So this is a team with Beckham and Keane and Donovan. And
they were
Omar.
very good too.
Yeah,
but,
Omar.
Yeah, okay. If you're going to talk about
at that
Omar
time,
Gonzalez.
Yeah, but at that time he was good.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Okay.
But he ruined everything for me, so
okay.
He can't.
Why?
What? He is the fault for why we lost that game to Trinidad.
My God. The unfortunate deflection?
No, it's his fault.
Okay, all right. Anyways, so yeah, I think for me, LAFC is the best team ever, and it would just be icing on top of the cake. Anything else you want to add on that one?
Omar Gonzalez sucks.
Okay. We have listener questions. I'm going to circle back on a listener question from Sal earlier. He said, how many of the MLS players who are American are actually at the international level able to compete? So, we were talking earlier about, Jossie and Will not really being there. But, I think Paxton Pomacle's well on his way. I think that, Aronson, not right now, but I think within a year, if he continues to develop the way that he has and doesn't have a slump, the way that it seems like all second-year players in Philadelphia seem to have happened, I think that he could be a player. I like Walker Zimmerman. I don't know what the heck happened to him over the last camp. He was not very good whatsoever, and I don't know where that came from. I think if he can get his head on right, I think he could be good. Aaron Long has proven to be an effective center back at the international level. He's not going to light the world on fire, but he's been pretty good. Just running through my brain of any other MLS players who are American. Yeah, Josie.
Right now, Bradley is not, in my opinion, anymore, but he obviously was for a really long time. It's really unfortunate that we don't have many strikers who can do it at the MLS level. There's so many top level players we see in MLS, but none of them are American, specifically on the front line, which is very, very frustrating. Walker Zimmerman is, I think, one that you touched on. I think that he is. I think Darlington Nagbe definitely could be in there if we play him, but for some reason he's just rejecting every call up that he could possibly get. And those are really the ones I would. Yeah,
Keaton Parks is another one. I know he's got a little injury right now, but he's really developed for NYCFC. And so if he continues to develop, and I know he's technically on loan, but I wouldn't be shocked if NYCFC tries to sign him and get him into their system. I think he could be another one. And so those are just the ones off the top of my head. And we have a lot of youth national team players starting to break through with the MLS academies. And so I'm really encouraged about the future for the national team. But yeah, I think you make a good point, Sal. There's not a ton of American players in MLS right now who are, like a Landon Donovan, who you knew was going to perform at an international level. And so, yeah, there's that. Christian, you want to recap our trivia question?
I would love to. So Fabinho has now started in 29 Premier League matches. Can you name his record?
Okay. So I know Liverpool's had a ridiculous record. I think they only have one loss, and these are just Premier League games, right?
Premier League only.
So yeah, they only have one loss over their last 50-some Premier League games. So with that being said, I'm going to say he has 20 wins, 1 loss, and 6. I can't do math. 7, 8 draws. That's how you do it.
So he did not play in that City game where Liverpool lost.
Oh, so he's got no losses.
He has no losses. He has 25 wins and 4 draws when he starts in the midfield for Liverpool.
That is ridiculous. And I love – so it's funny you're bringing him up because people want to talk about whether it's Christian Pulisic or even Naby Keita, Fabinho, these players that move teams and then they don't immediately start and aren't international level and oh my God, why aren't they dominating? And it's Fabinho didn't play their first 10
or 15
10 or 15 matches, and then all of a sudden he came on, and it's maybe players need a little bit of time to bed into a new team, a new country, and all that. They're not
Firmino
robots.
Didn't even play well when he first joined Liverpool.
They're not robots. And so I'm kind of taking this and applying it a little bit to Pulisic, but it's give the people time. And I did this with he didn't end up panning out, but the guy for Tottenham, remember he's now I think in Mexico. He was a Dutch international striker. No. Striker. What
Luke
the heck was
DeJong?
his No. Damn it, I can't remember his name, but he got a little bit of run. Yeah, he got a little bit of run out, and then he didn't end up performing. But it's you got to give people time to get bedded in, and then you can't just write them off within the first few months is what I'm trying to say at. So that's what I'm getting at. But it's impressive what Fabinho has done, and he has been a fantastic player for Janssen. Thank you, Todd, for being here. This is why we love doing this. Yeah, Vincent Janssen.
Yeah.
People were ready to write him off after 2
bad.
weeks. Yeah, he ultimately ended up proving to be not a good fit at Tottenham, but still, yeah, I don't know. It's such a fine line at the top level between what ends up working out and who ends up working out and who doesn't, because the managers have a huge role. Who your teammates are, like, so much happens, and I don't know if I want to call it luck, but there's a lot of factors that go into why people are successful and why they aren't. Daniel's chiming in with the last question here. Is this year the best hope for an MLS club winning CCL? Christian, your thoughts?
So when will they actually join?
CCL?
Yeah.
Starts next year.
What
do you mean, like February?
Okay, so this team will join, because I know there used to be like a delay.
Oh, yeah, that was just because nowadays it's like, so next year will be Atlanta United, LAFC, NYCFC, and then whoever wins MLS Cup.
Or Seattle.
And Montreal, because Montreal won the Canadian Championship.
Got it. I think yes, probably. I think Atlanta have definitely a realistic shot with LAFC. Obviously, LAFC probably our best chance to win the Cup next year, obviously. And and that's the biggest thing. Can they hold on to a lot of their star talent? I think they probably will this summer or winter, I guess is what we're doing. And it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, the other thing is that MLS is going through a collective bargaining agreement negotiation. And if that's not signed by like January, which is when these teams need to do preparation, I think that might throw all of this off. And so if the MLS gets all the CBA stuff done, yeah, I would say LAFC has the best chance of any MLS team I've seen, along with that Toronto team that almost won it. I think those are the two best bets. But the CBA negotiations could delay all of that. And then if they don't have a proper preseason, I mean, they're coming in. Liga MX teams are already flying at that point, and it's already starting. You know, they're already starting with Liga MX teams are already starting with a head start. That's what I'm trying to say. And so the CBA possibly delaying things could factor into that. And so, I think that if they get that figured out, LAFC has the best chance for an MLS club to win.
What do you think about the Liga MLS teams?
Liga MLS. Funny you should say that. I mean, they're talking about merging or talking about having intertwined competitions. Oh, man. See, it all ties together.
Yeah.
Stuff we're talking about in our lives. All right, Christian. Anything else? I think we got to do our wrap up. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go give us a review on iTunes if you like what we're doing here. We would greatly appreciate it. Only takes like a minute of your time. 5 stars and a written review helps us out so much, and we would greatly appreciate it. So please consider doing that. Is this thing load down? Yeah. All right. Christian, can you tell people about our Slack channel?
Yeah, I would love to. So if you want to join us on Slack, which is just a big chat room where we talk about, soccer and a bunch of other things. All a bunch. So we got Dave in there. We've got Christian, that's me in there. And we don't got Matt in there because Matt is a little bitch sometimes. So
it's never gonna
I know. Who cares?
Fuck that kid.
Yeah. So we got different, what are they called? Channels in there, I think, channels that are the top 5 European leagues. We got MLS, we got Liga MX, we got international soccer, we got a general category. Whoa, clap. Where you can talk about anything you would like, and trust me, people do. I think that's it. Other than if you want to join, you can tweet at us at BT Soccer Pod or email us at bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com.
Yes, so make sure you're following us at BT Soccer Pod. We're tweeting on there a bunch. We do some preview videos. We call them quick kick picks about MLS and Premier League. So check them out. We post them on Twitter, and then we're constantly interacting with people. So we'd love to hear from you. Check out our website, brostalkingsoccer.com. You can read about us, check out our past episodes. You can also buy some of our merch. So we have some merch for sale on there, and you can support the show. If you like what we're doing here, buy us a shot. It's $3 to buy us a shot. You can buy as many as you want. If you got a little bit of extra coin you want to support us, we would greatly appreciate it. No ongoing commitment or anything like that. It's just, if you're feeling generous and you like what we're doing, buy us a shot, and we would greatly appreciate it. That's all available on brostalkingsoccer.com. Christian, any final words here?
No, I don't really think so, David.
Okay, listeners.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm just going to say goodbye, and thank you, listeners, for being here. We always appreciate it. People that have joined us live on YouTube, we really appreciate that. Podcast listeners, we do this thing live on YouTube. You can interact with us as we go along here. Be a part of the show like Todd, Daniel, and Sal. I think that's everybody. Oh, and Mr. Brozilla was here as well. So thank you for being here and interacting with us. Mr. Brozilla, it's a fantastic name. And Christian's going skiing. Yes, he's got on his USA hat. Yeah. Okay. All right, listeners, we appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful day. stay tuned to our social media. We're not sure how we're going to do the podcast. We're leaving for Portugal and Spain next Sunday, so I don't know.
Maybe we'll record Sunday.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah, and then I'll spend the day editing, or I guess
I have to go soccer anyway.
We got to figure it out.
You have time.
Yeah. What if I wanted to come watch you play or something?
Well,
we'll figure out
there.
Check out at BT Soccer Pod on Twitter, and
Mackinnon.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we're doing. All right, everyone. Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.
There's only two of us. Matthew's got I'm one.
The other one.
No, who's this? Who's this?
No, oh my God.
Who's this? Oh my gosh. So, sounds like mom and dad are back with the dogs. So if you hear any noise upstairs, that is
usually you
what's
don't
going
hear
on.
it.
Yeah, no, not at all. Absolutely
Never.
not. All right. Speak of the devil. Nope, different Matt.
Wrong Matt.
Different Matt.
It's different. Everybody relax. It's different Matt.
Nope, I need this because we don't have it up on the computer. All right.
I have excellent computer skills. I want to tell the YouTubers real quick.
Okay, what's
So
up?
if I got the gauntlet from, the Infinity Gauntlet in Marvel.
The hand thing?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
With all the
The
stones.
glove, yeah.
But snap all the spiders out of fucking existence.
Oh,
I can't handle what's happening in this room right now. And
There was one spider.
It was so fast. Did you see that thing?
Yes, I
It was
killed it.
fast as shit. I don't like that. I
killed
live right there. It fucking was
All right,
probably
all right.
on the bed.
First off,
I am yelling. I don't like them.
Yeah, I know. I killed it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.